Hey guys, tonight we begin with the soaring, majestic, and utterly exhausting life of the medieval falconer. The man who stood in the shadow of kings, holding a creature that was worth more than his entire village, and praying it didn't decide to fly away or tear his thumb off. From the relentless demands of caring for high-maintenance raptors to the freezing nights spent awake in a birdhouse, their story is one of patience, isolation, and a very specific kind of misery. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. When you think of medieval falconry, you probably imagine a tapestry. A noble lord on a white horse, dressed in velvet, with a magnificent bird perched elegantly on his gloved fist. The sun is shining, the forest is green, and everything looks dignified, regal, and serene. But you are not that lord. In this story, you are the guy standing in the mud next to the horse. You are the falconer. And for you, this isn't a sport. It's a lifestyle of servitude to a creature that has knives for feet and absolutely no concept of gratitude. Picture this. You wake up. It's pitch black. The air is freezing because you don't sleep in a house with a hearth. You sleep in the mews. The mews is the building where the hawks and falcons are kept, and it is your entire world. It smells of raw meat, old feathers, and the sharp, ammonia-heavy scent of bird droppings, known politely as mute. The smell is in your clothes, your hair, and your pores, even if you scrubbed yourself with sand and lye, which you won't do because who has the time? You would still smell like a giant predatory bird. You roll off your straw pallet, your back aching from the damp stone floor. You are tired. You are always tired, but there is no hitting snooze. The birds are awake, and if the birds are awake, you are awake. In the darkness, you hear them shifting on their perches, the rustle of feathers, the tinkling of the tiny bells attached to their legs. That sound, the jingle of a falcon's bell, is the soundtrack of your life. It haunts your dreams. It dictates your schedule. You light a single tallow candle, trying not to startle the livestock. These aren't chickens. These are goshawks, peregrines, maybe even a gerfalcon imported from Iceland that cost more than your life's earnings times 10. If you startle them, they might bait. That is, try to fly off the perch in a panic. If they bait, they might damage a feather. And if they damage a feather, particularly a flight feather, the lord of the manor will be displeased. And when a medieval lord is displeased, people tend to disappear into dungeons or find themselves demoted to something even worse, like cleaning the cesspits. So you move with the silence of a ghost. Your first job? Cleaning. Before you even think about breakfast, which will be cold pottage if you're lucky, you have to clean the mews. You scrape the droppings from the perches of the floor. You check the sand. You inspect the casting, the little pellets of bone and fur the birds cough up after digestion. Yes, you have to analyze bird vomit to make sure their digestion is healthy. It's glamorous work. Once the cleaning is done, it's time for the kitchen work, but not for you, for the birds. You head to the prep area to chop meat, and we aren't talking about nice cuts of steak. You are handling the parts of animals that humans generally don't want. Rabbit, pigeon, maybe some organ meat. It has to be fresh, it has to be clean, and it has to be cut to the exact right size. Too big, and the bird might choke. Too small, and they might not be satisfied. You spend the next hour covered in blood, carefully preparing breakfast for a creature that looks at you with ancient reptilian indifference. While you are doing this, your hands are freezing. It's winter, the prime hunting season. The water in the bucket has a layer of ice on it. Your fingers are stiff, cracked, and covered in small scars from beaks and talons. You wash the meat in cold water because warm water might spoil it or make the bird soft. Everything in your life is cold. The stone walls, the water, the morning air, the bird's demeanor. You finally approach the birds. This is the moment of truth. Every single interaction with a raptor is a negotiation. You don't train a falcon like a dog. A dog wants to please you. A dog loves you. A falcon tolerates you because you are the source of food. If you died right now, the falcon would feel nothing, except perhaps mild annoyance that dinner is late. You put on your glove. It's thick leather, stiff and heavy, often stained with old blood and grease. You extend your arm. The bird steps up. You feel the weight of it, the grip of those talons through the leather. It's a heavy bird, maybe 2 or 3 pounds, which doesn't sound like much until you have to hold it at arm's length for hours. Your shoulder burns, your bicep screams, but you hold it steady. You are a human perch. Now you check the bird. You check the eyes. Are they clear? You check the feet. Any swelling? You check the feathers. Are they smooth? This bird is a high-performance machine. It is the medieval equivalent of a fighter jet, and you are the mechanic. If the jet malfunctions, it's your fault. Let's talk about the hierarchy here. In the grand scheme of the castle, the hierarchy goes: the king, the nobles, the knights, the horses, the hounds, the falcons, and then, somewhere way down near the bottom, you. In fact, the bird ranks higher than you in almost every measurable way. The bird eats fresh meat every day. You eat stale bread and vegetable stew. The bird gets medical attention if it looks sick. If you get sick, you're told to work through it or leave. The bird has a warm hood made of fine leather and sometimes velvet. You have a wool tunic that has been patched 4 times. If a fire broke out in the castle, your standing orders are clear. Save the birds first. You are replaceable. A trained peregrine falcon is not. And the training. Oh, the training.
It is a psychological war of attrition, and you are the one losing sleep. The process is called manning. It basically involves convincing a wild, terrified predator that you are not going to eat it. How do you do this? By staying awake for days. When a new bird is caught or brought in, it is wild. It wants to kill you or escape or both. You cannot beat a falcon into submission. It will just die of stress or broken spirit. You have to break its will through exhaustion. This is called waking the bird. You take the bird into a dark room. You put it on your fist, and you stay there. You don't sleep. You gently stroke it with a feather to keep it awake. If it tries to sleep, you nudge it. You talk to it softly. You carry it around. This can go on for 3 days and 3 nights. You are hallucinating from sleep deprivation. The walls are breathing. You are having conversations with your ancestors, but you cannot drop the bird. You cannot fall asleep. If you do, the bond is broken. The progress is lost. You have to outlast the bird. It is a battle of endurance between a human and a dinosaur, and the dinosaur has nothing else to do. Eventually, the bird breaks. It accepts you. It eats from your hand. It is a moment of triumph, a moment of connection, but you are too tired to celebrate. You just want to collapse into your straw pile for an hour before the sun comes up, and you have to do it all over again. And this is just the beginning. Once the bird is manned, you have to teach it to hunt. This involves weeks of walking through fields, swinging a lure, a pair of bird wings tied to a rope around your head like a medieval lasso. You run, you shout, you whistle. You are essentially playing fetch with a creature that can fly 200 miles per hour. You spend hours in the wet grass, your boots soaking through. You lose the bird in a tree. You spend 3 hours standing under that tree, holding out a piece of raw rabbit, whistling the special recall whistle, while the bird looks down at you with utter contempt. It's raining. It's always raining. You are hungry. The bird is not hungry, which is why it won't come down. You pray to Saint Bavon, the patron saint of falconry, that the bird doesn't decide to fly to the next county. If it flies away, you don't just lose a bird. You lose your job. You might lose your ears if the Lord is particularly nasty. So you wait. Patience is your only virtue. You become part of the landscape. You are a statue with a piece of meat. Finally, the bird decides to descend. It lands on your fist with a heavy thump. You secure the jesses, the leather straps on its legs. You hood it. You sigh. You walk 5 miles back to the castle in the dark. Socially, you are an oddity. You spend more time with animals than people. You smell strange. You have scratches on your face. You talk to birds. The other servants think you're weird. The kitchen staff is annoyed because you're always begging for the best scraps of meat. The stable boys think they have it hard, but at least horses don't fly away. And yet, you are essential. Falconry is the sport of kings. It is how the nobility flaunts their status. When the duke rides out with his entourage, he needs you. You are the one who prepares the birds. You are the one who runs into the brush to flush out the game. You are the one who retrieves the kill so the Duke doesn't have to get his velvet gloves bloody. You are the stagehand in their grand theater of power. They get the glory, you get the gore. They get the feast, you get the leftovers. But in that moment, when the falcon stoops, diving from the sky like a thunderbolt, hitting its prey with a sound like a cracking whip, you feel a strange sense of pride. You made that happen. You and the bird. For a split second, you are connected to something wild and perfect. Then the moment passes. The Duke laughs. He takes credit for the bird's skill. You run forward to collect the broken body of a heron. You wipe the blood off the falcon's beak. You put the hood back on. The magic is gone. It's just work again. Cold, bloody, exhausting work. As you trudge back to the mews, the sun setting behind the gray stone walls of the castle, you realize that your day isn't over. The birds need to be fed again. The mews need to be cleaned again. You need to repair a broken leash. You need to check a cracked talon. You need to sew a new hood because the old one is worn out. You will eat your pottage in the dark, listening to the shifting of feathers. You will check the locks on the door 3 times because bird thieves are a real thing, and if someone steals the prize goshawk, it's your head on the block. You will lie down on your straw, smelling the ammonia and the damp wool. You will close your eyes, and in your dreams you will hear the bells. Always the bells. This is your life. You are a keeper of the sky, grounded in the mud. You are a master of the air, living in a cage of stone. It is a life of sharp edges and soft feathers, of high stakes and low rewards. And tomorrow you will do it all again.
If you thought the training was the hard part, welcome to the maintenance phase. This is where the glamour of falconry truly goes to die. Buried under a mountain of leather scraps, beeswax, and anxiety. Because a falconer isn't just a trainer. You are a tailor, a doctor, a janitor, and a dietitian, often within the same freezing hour before sunrise. Let's talk about the gear. You might see a painting of a king holding a hawk and notice the beautiful leather hood covering the bird's eyes, perhaps topped with a jaunty plume of feathers. It looks elegant. It looks effortless. But you know the truth. That hood is the result of sleepless nights and pricked fingers. You made it. And if it doesn't fit perfectly, your life is going to become very difficult very quickly. Falconry hoods are not one size fits all. Each bird has a different head shape, a different beak curve, a different temperament. You have to craft the hood from stiff leather, molding it, stitching it with thread that feels like wire. If the hood is too tight, it will rub the bird's eyes, causing infection or blindness. If it's too loose, the bird will shake it off, see something moving, a cat, a servant, a shadow, and bait from the fist in a panic, potentially breaking a wing.
So you sit in the dim light of the muse, squinting at your work. Your hands are calloused and scarred, but this work requires the delicacy of a lace maker. You act as a medieval engineer of blindness. The hood keeps the bird calm. It is the off switch for a creature that is hardwired to kill. Without the hood, the bird is a bundle of nerves reacting to every flicker of candlelight. With the hood, it sits still, mostly. You stitch, you mold, you test it on the bird, holding your breath. The bird shakes its head. The hood stays. You exhale. But then you notice a fraying strap on the jesses, the leather strips tied to the bird's legs. If those snap while you are in the field, the bird is gone. It will fly up into a tree, look down at you, and realize it no longer needs you. So you have to replace them. More cutting, more oiling of leather. The smell of different oils, neatsfoot, animal fat, and beeswax permeates the air. It is a heavy, cloying scent that sticks to the back of your throat. And then there are the bells. 2 small bells, usually made of silver or brass, attached to the bird's legs. They serve a practical purpose. If the bird flies into a bush or gets lost in tall grass, the tinkling sound helps you find it. But inside the muse, they are instruments of psychological torture. Every time the bird shifts its weight, tinkle. Every time it scratches its beak, tinkle. You learn to identify the mood of the bird by the sound of the bells. A soft, rhythmic jingling means preening. A sharp, violent rattle means it's trying to attack something. A sudden silence is the most terrifying of all, because it means the bird is staring at something intently, plotting. You live your life in service to these sounds. But equipment is just the beginning. Let's discuss the medical care. In the Middle Ages, human medicine is basically a guessing game involving leeches and prayer. Veterinary medicine is somehow even worse, yet the stakes feel higher. If a peasant dies, the Lord can find another peasant. If a prize gerfalcon dies, the Lord loses a status symbol worth a small fortune, and he will want to know why. You are the doctor. You spend hours inspecting the bird's feet. The greatest enemy of the captive raptor is a condition called bumblefoot, an infection on the bottom of the talons caused by sitting on perches that are too hard or dirty. This is why you scrub the perches daily. This is why you cushion them with padded leather or hemp. If you see a swelling, you panic. You have to treat it. And how do you treat a bird that has knives for feet? Very carefully. You might have to hold the bird down, swaddle it in a towel like an angry feathered burrito, and apply salves made of honey, herbs, or hot iron. The bird screams. You try not to flinch. You pray the infection doesn't spread. Then there is the issue of imping. This is a procedure that requires hands steadier than a surgeon's. Feathers are the bird's engine. If a primary flight feather breaks, maybe the bird thrashed in the night or hit a branch during a hunt, it can't fly properly. A flightless hawk is a useless hawk. So you have to fix it. You keep a stash of old feathers, molted from previous years, stored in a dry box like precious jewels. When a feather breaks, you find a match. You cut the broken shaft on the bird's wing. You take the replacement feather and cut it to the exact length. Then you take a small iron needle, dip it in brine so it rusts, insert it into the hollow shaft of the feather, and join the two pieces together. The rust acts as glue, bonding the old feather to the new one.
Imagine doing this in candlelight, with a bird that is awake and watching you, knowing that if you glue the feather at the wrong angle, the bird will spiral out of control in the air. It is a task of immense precision, performed in a barn by a man who hasn't slept in 2 days. And we haven't even talked about the personalities yet. Not yours, the bird's. You might think a bird is a bird. You would be wrong. In the medieval mind and in your daily reality, different species correspond to different social ranks and have vastly different temperaments. At the top is the gyrfalcon, reserved for kings. These are massive, white Arctic ghosts. They are aloof, powerful, and require a cold environment. They don't bond with you. They permit you to exist in their presence. Keeping them cool in a European summer involves constant shade, wet burlap, and worry. Then there is the peregrine, the noble's bird. They are high-strung, fast, and prone to stress. They are the divas of the muse. If you look at them wrong, they might refuse to eat for 3 days. And then there is the goshawk. This is often the bird of the yeoman or the lesser nobility, and sometimes, unfortunately, you. The goshawk is the psychopath of the bird world. It has staring orange-red eyes that look like burning coals. It is driven by a pure, unadulterated desire to kill anything that moves. While a falcon hunts from the sky, a goshawk hunts from the fist, launching itself like a missile. Training a goshawk is like trying to train a chainsaw. They are moody. They hold grudges. If you make a mistake with a falcon, it might fly away. If you make a mistake with a goshawk, it might try to bind to your face. You spend your days walking around with this bundle of fury on your arm, constantly managing its yarok, a Persian term adopted by falconers to describe the bird's state of keenness or aggression. If it's in high yarok, it's ready to hunt. If it's too high, it's just a danger to everyone, including itself. You learn to read the body language of a creature that has no face muscles to express emotion. You watch the feathers on the crown of the head. Are they raised? That's excitement. You watch the wings. Are they drooping? That's illness. You watch the slice, the bird's droppings. You become an expert in bird poop.
color, consistency, frequency. It tells you if the bird is healthy, if it's digesting well, if it's ready to fly. You discuss the quality of mutes with other falconers with the same seriousness that knights discuss sword steel. The isolation of the job starts to weigh on you. You spend more time speaking to birds than to humans. You start to mimic their sounds. You make clicking noises with your tongue. You whistle. You find human conversation exhausting because people talk too much and move too unpredictably. Birds are honest. They are honest in their hunger and their aggression. Humans are complicated. The other servants in the castle give you a wide berth. You smell like old meat. You have 1,000-yard stare. You are always covered in a fine layer of feather dust, a white powder that settles in your lungs and makes you cough a dry, hacking cough. They call it fancier's lung in the future, but right now it's just another part of the job. And then there is the molting season. In the spring and summer, the birds drop their old feathers and grow new ones. This sounds like a break, right? No hunting, no cold winter fields. Wrong. Molting is a time of high anxiety. The bird is vulnerable. If a new feather grows in crooked, or if it gets damaged while it's still in the blood, growing and filled with blood supply, it can bleed profusely or be ruined forever. You have to keep the birds fat, happy, and calm. You have to feed them rich food to support feather growth. You have to keep the mews perfectly quiet. It is months of tiptoeing. It is months of being a nursemaid to a creature that is bored and irritable because it isn't flying. You watch the feathers grow millimeter by millimeter. You collect the molted feathers from the floor, sorting them by size and wing side, labeling them for future imping repairs. You are a librarian of keratin. During this time, the Lord might visit. This is the most stressful event of the season. He sweeps into the mews, dressed in finery that costs more than the building you are standing in. He wants to see his investment. He wants to see the white gyrfalcon. You have to bring the bird out. You have to hope it doesn't bait. You have to hope it doesn't scream. Some birds scream when they see strangers, a piercing, repetitive shriek that grates on the nerves. If the bird screams, the Lord looks at you like you have failed. Why is it unhappy? Why is it not regal and silent like in the paintings? You explain, quietly, looking at your boots, that the bird is molting, that it is sensitive. The Lord nods, bored. He doesn't care about the biology. He cares about the aesthetic. He taps his gloves against his leg, a sound that makes the goshawk in the corner flare its wings in aggression. And then he leaves. You exhale. You didn't get fired today. You didn't get put in the stocks. You just have to survive the rest of the day. The seasons turn, the air grows crisp, the leaves fall, the molt is over. The birds are sleek, their new feathers shining with oil, their eyes bright. The hunger returns, and with the hunger comes the hunting season.
This is what you have prepared for. This is the purpose of all the sleepless nights, the stitching, the cleaning, the freezing. But it is also where the physical toll becomes unbearable. You are not riding a horse. The Lord rides a horse. You walk. You carry the cadge. The cadge is a wooden frame, a rectangular perch that hangs from your shoulders on straps. It is used to carry multiple birds into the field. Imagine a wooden frame with 4 or 5 hawks perched on it. That's 10 to 15 pounds of shifting, restless weight. The straps dig into your shoulders. The wood bumps against your hips. You have to walk smoothly, absorbing the shock of every step with your knees so the birds aren't jostled. You are a human shock absorber. You walk for miles, through mud that sucks at your boots, through brambles that tear your hose. You are carrying the precious cargo. If you stumble, if you fall, and the birds are injured, there is no mercy for you. The weather turns against you. It is late autumn. The wind bites. Rain is your constant companion. Wet leather smells pungent and sour. Your hands exposed to the elements, because you need dexterity to work the knots and leashes, are red and raw. You lose feeling in your fingertips. You rub them with tallow to keep the skin from cracking open, but they crack anyway. You look ahead at the hunting party. The nobles are laughing. They are passing wineskins. They are wrapped in furs. They look like a different species. You are part of the background, like the trees or the mud. You are a utility. You are the man who brings the lightning, but you are not allowed to wield it. You trudge on. The weight of the cadge presses you down into the earth. The bells jingle, a constant, maddening chorus near your ears. Tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. It is the music of your servitude. You check the birds. Hoods secure. Jesses tight. They are ready. They are vibrating with energy, sensing the open air, the potential for blood. You feel a strange kinship with them. They are captives, bound by leather straps. You are a captive, bound by class and duty. You are both leashed. You are both hungry, in different ways. The Lord signals. It is time. You lower the cadge. You step forward, your legs shaking from the miles you have walked.
You select the favorite falcon, the peregrine. You transfer her to your glove. She grips you hard, anticipating the flight. You feel her heart beating against your wrist, fast and wild. For a moment, the world narrows down to this: the bird, your hand, and the gray sky above. You are about to release a creature of perfect design. You are about to let go. But you know, with a heaviness in your gut, that even when she flies, she is tethered to you. And you are tethered to this life, this cold, thankless, beautiful, miserable life. You pull the braces of the hood. The light floods in. The bird's head snaps up, eyes locking on to the horizon. The bird launches. For a heartbeat, you feel the absence of its weight on your arm, a sudden ghostly lightness that feels wrong after hours of carrying the heavy cadge. The peregrine climbs, circling higher and higher, mounting the air like a staircase made of wind. To the Lord and his guests, this is poetry. They shield their eyes against the gray sky, pointing, murmuring appreciatively at the silhouette cutting through the clouds. They see a symbol of nobility, of mastery over nature. You see something else entirely. You see a fragile, expensive, temperamental investment that is currently deciding whether to come back to work or fly to France. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic rhythm that has nothing to do with the beauty of the scene, and everything to do with the terrifying lack of control you now possess. The leash is gone. The jesses are free. The connection is broken. You are standing in a muddy field, looking up, completely at the mercy of a bird's whim. The falcon reaches her pitch, the high point where she waits, circling, watching. This is the moment. You have to do your part. You are not a spectator. You are the engine of the hunt. You grab a long pole, or perhaps you signal to the dogs, and you plunge into the undergrowth.
The nobles stay on their horses, safe on the dry path. You go into the briars, you wade into the reeds. The water is freezing, seeping instantly through your leather boots, numbing your toes. Thorns snag your woolen tunic, tearing small holes in the fabric you will have to mend later by candlelight. You shout, you beat the bushes, you are trying to flush out the game, a heron, a duck, a rook. You are the chaos that enables the order. You are the noise that enables the silence of the strike. Suddenly, a shape bursts from the reeds, a heron, heavy-winged and panicked, lifting into the air with a croak of alarm. You stop. You look up. The falcon has seen it. She folds her wings. She transforms from a soaring kite into a falling stone. This is the stoop. It is the fastest movement in the animal kingdom, a blur of speed that the human eye can barely track. The sound is what you remember later, a tearing noise, like canvas ripping apart as the air is sheared apart by the bird's body.
Then the impact. It isn't a graceful dance, it is a violent collision. The falcon hits the heron with a thud that echoes across the field. Feathers explode outward like a puff of smoke. The prey tumbles from the sky. The falcon binds to it, riding it down to the earth. The nobles cheer. A fine hit, a noble strike. They clap, they take sips of wine, they adjust their saddles. But you are running. You are sprinting across the uneven ground, lungs burning, boots sliding in the muck. You have to get there first. This is the most dangerous part of the hunt, not for the prey, but for the bird, and for you. When a falcon kills, she is in a state of heightened aggression. She is possessive. She is mantling, spreading her wings over the prey to hide it, creating a tent of feathers to say, "This is mine." If you approach too fast, she might panic and fly off with the kill, lost forever into the woods. If you approach too slow, she might gorge herself on the meat. A full bird is a useless bird. If she eats her fill now, she won't hunt again for 2 days. The Lord will be displeased. The hunt will be over. So you have to perform a delicate, high-stakes robbery. You approach slowly, making the soft clicking sounds you practiced in the dark of the mews. You kneel in the mud. The bird looks at you, eyes wild, beak bloody. She hisses. She tightens her grip on the prey. You reach into your pouch and pull out a garniture, a small pre-cut piece of high-quality meat. You offer it to her on your glove. It is a bribe. You are trading a bite of easy meat for the carcass she just earned. She hesitates. You hold your breath. If she strikes at your face, you can't flinch. If she grabs your hand instead of the glove, you bleed. Slowly, carefully, she steps onto your fist to take the offering. With your other hand, you swiftly, almost invisibly, hide the dead heron behind your back or slip it into the game bag. You have successfully stolen her dinner. You hood her quickly while she is still chewing, plunging her back into darkness before she realizes she has been tricked. You stand up, your knees soaked, your heart rate returning to normal. You are covered in mud. You have a dead heron in a bag that is leaking blood on your hip. You are holding a predator that is vibrating with adrenaline. The Lord rides up. He looks at the bulge in the game bag. "Good sport," he says, smiling. He looks clean. He looks refreshed. He hasn't touched a single briar or stepped in a single puddle. "Yes, my lord," you say, bowing your head. You hand the bird off to an assistant or place her back on the kedge, and you prepare to do it all over again. Because the hunt isn't over until the Lord gets bored. You might flush game 5, 6, 10 times in an afternoon. You run, you shout, you wade through streams, you climb fences. You are a human retriever. And then there are the disasters. Not every flight ends in a clean kill. Sometimes the falcon misses. She chases the prey over a hill out of sight. The bells fade into the distance. Panic sets in. This is the nightmare scenario. You have to find her. The Lord waits, impatient. "Where is she?" he asks, as if you have a magical string connecting you to the bird. You have to track her. You listen for the bells. You look for the behavior of other birds, crows mobbing a tree, small birds going silent.
You run through the woods, ignoring the branches whipping your face. You are terrified. If she is lost, it is your negligence. You didn't train her well enough. You didn't manage her weight correctly. You might spend hours searching. The sun starts to dip low, the temperature drops, the hunting party decides to head back to the castle, leaving you behind. Find her, the Lord commands, turning his horse. Do not return without her. So you are left alone in the darkening forest. You have no lantern. You have only your lure, swinging it in circles, whistling until your lips are chapped. You walk for miles. The woods are full of sounds, twigs snapping, owls hooting, but none of them are the silver tinkle of a falcon's bell. You think about wolves. You think about poachers. You think about the price of the bird, more gold than your village sees in a year. You think about the punishment for losing her. A flogging? A fine you can never pay? Dismissal without a reference, which means starvation? Finally, by some miracle, you hear it. A faint jingle from high up in an oak tree. She is there, roosting for the night. She looks down at you, comfortable, indifferent. She won't come down. It's too dark. Hawks don't fly at night. So you have a choice. You can leave her and hope she is there in the morning. She won't be. She will fly at first light. Or you can stay. You stay. You sit at the base of the tree. The ground is hard and cold. You wrap your thin cloak around yourself. You don't have a fire. You don't have food, unless you want to eat the raw meat in your pouch. You sit vigil beneath the tree, guarding the bird from foxes and owls, waiting for the sun. You doze fitfully, waking at every rustle. You are cold to your bones. This is the reality of the sport of kings. It is sleeping under a tree in November because a bird decided it didn't want to come home.
When dawn breaks, you are stiff, shivering, and covered in dew. You swing the lure. The bird, hungry now after a cold night, finally swoops down. You catch her. You could pry with relief, but you don't. You just secure the jesses, hood her, and begin the long walk back to the castle. When you arrive, disheveled and exhausted, the castle is waking up. The smell of baking bread wafts from the kitchen. You are starving, but you cannot eat yet. First, the bird, always the bird. You take her to the mews. You check her over for injuries. Did she scratch her leg on the tree bark? Did she damage a feather in the night? You weigh her. You feed her a small amount of high-quality meat to reward her for returning, even though she made you sleep in the dirt. You clean the mews again. You oil the leather again. Only then, when the bird is settled on her perch, one leg tucked up into her feathers, content and warm, do you allow yourself to collapse. You go to the kitchen door, hoping for leftovers. The cook gives you a hard look, but hands you a bowl of pottage and a hunk of bread. You eat it standing up, leaning against a wall. You are too dirty to sit at the table. You realize, as you chew the dense bread, that you are more part of the animal kingdom than the human one.
You live by the sun and the seasons. You hunt to eat. You speak in whistles and clicks. You smell like the forest and the slaughterhouse. The nobles in the castle are celebrating the hunt. They are telling stories of the magnificent stoop, the speed of the chase. They are drinking wine and laughing by the fire. They are the heroes of the story. You are the invisible mechanism that makes the story possible. You are the grease in the wheel. And the economic reality of your position is grim. Despite the immense value of the birds you care for, you are paid a pittance. You are often paid in livery, clothing and food, rather than coin. You might get a small yearly wage, but it is barely enough to buy a pair of new boots, which you desperately need because yours are rotting from the constant damp. You are technically a specialist, a skilled laborer, but because your work is considered service, you are trapped in the feudal web. You cannot simply quit and go work for another lord. That would be seen as betrayal, or worse, theft of trade secrets. Your knowledge of the Lord's birds is proprietary. Sometimes you look at the birds and feel a strange envy. They are captives, yes, but they are pampered. They are valued. If they get sick, the finest medicines are imported. If you get sick, you are told to pray. They are allowed to be wild, to be fierce, to scream and bite. You must be silent, obedient, and invisible. The bird wears a hood to keep it calm. You wear a mask of servitude to keep yourself safe. And the physical toll accumulates. It isn't just the fatigue, it is the damage. Your left arm, your falconry arm, is permanently stronger and more muscular than your right, but the shoulder joint grinds painfully from years of holding up a heavy weight. Your skin is weathered, leathery from wind and sun. Your eyes are perpetually squinting, scanning the horizon. You have falconer's hands, scarred, calloused, with dirt permanently embedded in the cracks. You have been bitten by beaks that can crack bone. You have been raked by talons that can pierce the skulls of rabbits. You have learned to treat these wounds yourself with spider webs and moss because you can't stop working long enough to see a healer. There is also the constant low-level fear of losing the touch. Falconry is an art, not a science. It relies on intuition. Some days you feel like you can read the bird's mind. Other days you feel like a stranger. If you lose that connection, if the birds stop responding to you, you are useless. An old falconer who can no longer fly birds is just another mouth to feed. So you protect your knowledge jealously. You don't share your secrets with the stable boys. You guard your recipes for medicines and your techniques for hood making. Your knowledge is the only leverage you have. As the evening sets in, the cycle begins again. The castle quiets down. The torches are lit. You return to the mews. The birds are waiting. They hear your step. They know the sound of your breathing. You check the perches, you check the water, you check the locks. You sit on your stool, surrounded by the breathing of 20 raptors. The air is thick and still. You are tired, so tired, but you are also, in a strange way, at peace. Here, in the dark, with the monsters, you know who you are. You are the master of the muse. You are the one they wait for. The nobles have their wine and their songs. You have the silence of the predators. And for a brief moment before sleep takes you, you feel a flicker of something that might be pride, or maybe it's just the relief that you didn't lose a bird today. You close your eyes. Tomorrow is another hunt. Tomorrow the sky awaits. And tomorrow you will have to run through the mud again, chasing a shadow that costs more than your life.
The years pass, not in days or weeks, but in seasons of molting and seasons of hunting. And as they pass, they write their history upon your body. If you want to know the true cost of being a medieval falconer, you do not look at the account books of the castle treasury. You look at the falconer's hands. Your hands are a map of your profession. They are no longer the smooth hands of a youth. They are thick, textured, and permanently stained by walnut juice, blood, and oil. The skin is mapped with 1,000 tiny white lines, scars from beaks that snapped too quickly, or talons that gripped too hard when a bird was startled by thunder. You have lost the feeling in the tip of your left thumb, a nerve severed years ago by a goshawk that decided your hand was the prey. You don't complain about it. It is just part of the uniform. But the damage goes deeper than the skin. The dampness of the mews, the stone floors, the hours spent standing perfectly still in freezing rain while waiting for a bird to return, it settles into your joints. By the time you are 30, you move with the stiffness of an old man. The falconer's shoulder, that persistent, grinding ache in the arm that holds the birds, is a constant companion. It is a dull throb that pulses in time with your heartbeat, a reminder of the weight you carry, literal and metaphorical. You have seen older falconers, men who have spent 50 years in the service of the sky. They are bent, their fingers curled into permanent hooks, as if they are still gripping the jesses even when their hands are empty. They walk with a shuffle, their eyes rheumy from decades of squinting into the sun and the wind. You look at them and you see your future. A future of quiet pain, endured in the shadows of the great stone walls. And yet the physical toll is perhaps easier to bear than the solitude. To be a falconer is to live a life apart. You exist on the periphery of human society. You are technically part of the castle staff, but you do not belong to the kitchen, nor the stables, nor the guardhouse. You belong to the birds. And because the birds require silence, patience, and a calm atmosphere, you become a creature of silence yourself.
You lose the knack for easy conversation. While the other servants gossip and laugh in the warm kitchen, sharing stories and bread, you are usually alone in the mews, sewing a hood by the light of a single flickering rushlight. You talk to the hawks more than you talk to people. You learn their language, the chitter of annoyance, the croak of hunger, the sharp hiss of fear. You find yourself making these sounds unconsciously, even when you are among humans. People begin to find you strange. They say you have the wild eye. They say you smell of the woods and the slaughter. The maidens in the village do not look at you with interest. They look at you with a mixture of curiosity and wariness, as if you might bite. You are not quite civilized. You have spent too much time staring into the unblinking eyes of predators, and something of their coldness has seeped into you. This isolation is not just social. It is structural. Your quarters are often attached to the mews, far from the warmth of the main keep. In the deep winter, when the castle is filled with the sounds of Yule feasts, the music of lutes, the roaring fires, the shouting of drunk knights, you are miles away, huddled under a blanket next to a row of falcons sleeping. You can hear the faint echo of the celebration, carried on the wind like a ghost. It reminds you that there is a world of warmth and light, but you are not invited. You are the guardian of the dark. And then there is the economic trap. You are a specialist, a master of a rare and difficult art. In theory, this should make you wealthy. In reality, it makes you owned. A master mason can move from city to city, selling his skills to the highest bidder. A mercenary can change armies. But a falconer? You are bound to the birds you train. To leave a lord's service is incredibly difficult. You cannot just walk away from a gerfalcon you have spent 3 years manning. The bird knows you. The bird trusts only you. If you leave, the bird might regress, becoming wild again, destroying the lord's investment. So the Lord holds you tight. He knows you cannot leave. He pays you just enough to keep you alive, just enough to keep you working, but never enough to buy your freedom. You are paid in prestige, they say. You are paid in the honor of serving the king's beasts. But honor does not buy firewood. Honor does not fix the leak in your roof. You watch the knights you serve. They are rich, powerful men. They spend more on a single feast than you will earn in a lifetime. They love the birds, or they claim to, but they do not love the work. They love the image of themselves with the bird. They love the idea of dominion over nature. You are the one who actually possesses that dominion, but you possess it in secret, in the mud and the cold. You know the birds better than you know your own family. You know that the great white gerfalcon, the envy of every king in Europe, has a ticklish spot under her left wing. You know that the fierce peregrine is afraid of thunder. These are your secrets. They are the only things that are truly yours. Sometimes you are given an apprentice,
a boy, usually the son of a peasant, sent to the muse because he has nimble fingers or a quiet demeanor. You look at him, young and soft, eyes wide with the romantic notion of handling the noble birds. You see him wince when a hawk baits and the bells ring in his ears. You see him shiver in the morning draught. You have to teach him. You have to break him, just as you break the birds. You teach him how to cut meat without looking. You teach him how to stay awake for 3 days. You teach him that his comfort does not matter. The bird comes first, you tell him, your voice raspy from disuse. Always the bird. You watch the light fade from his eyes, replaced by the hard, focused glint of the falconer. You watch his hands grow calloused. You watch him stop talking about the village girls and start talking about wing loading and molt patterns. You are creating your replacement, another ghost to haunt the muse. It feels less like teaching and more like passing on a curse.
There are moments of terror, too. Real, heart-stopping terror. Not from the birds, but from the world they inhabit. To hunt, you must go where the game is. This often means venturing into the deep forests, the wild edges of the map. In the medieval world, the forest is not a park. It is a place of danger. There are wolves, there are boars, there are outlaws who would slit your throat for the boots on your feet, let alone the valuable bird on your arm. You walk alone or in small groups, far from the safety of the castle walls. You are armed only with a knife for cutting meat and a staff for beating bushes. You are vulnerable. And then there are the cliffs. To catch a wild falcon or to retrieve a lost one, you often have to scale sheer rock faces. You dangle from fraying ropes, hundreds of feet above the jagged rocks, reaching into a nest while angry parent birds dive-bomb your head, screaming, raking your scalp with their talons. You do this without safety gear, without helmets, trusting in a knot tied by a boy who was thinking about his supper. One slip, and you are just another broken thing at the bottom of a ravine, left to be eaten by the very creatures you dedicated your life to raising. But perhaps the deepest pain is the emotional one. It is a strange, silent grief that lives in the center of your chest. You spend every waking hour with these creatures. You pour your life force into them. You know the rhythm of their breathing better than your own. You feel a profound, overwhelming love for them, a love that is fierce and protective and entirely unrequited. The bird does not love you. It does not care if you are cold. It does not care if you are lonely. If you unhood it and release the jesses, it will fly away and never look back. It stays with you only because you are the most convenient source of food. You know this. You tell yourself this every day. It is a wild thing, you say. It is a beast. But then, late at night, when the muse is quiet and the candle is burning low, the peregrine will shift on her perch. She will look at you with those great, dark, liquid eyes. She will arouse, shaking her feathers out and letting them settle with a soft, rushing sound that signifies contentment. She will tuck her head under her wing, trusting you to watch over her while she sleeps. And in that moment, your heart breaks a little, because you are not her master. You are her servant, you are her prisoner, and you would not have it any other way. This is the paradox that keeps you trapped. The misery of the job is absolute, but the beauty of the birds is addictive. To hold a preacher of the clouds on your fist, to be the anchor for something so wild, it is a drug. It makes the freezing nights, the bloody hands, and the social isolation bearable. It is a terrible, beautiful bargain. As you age, the fear of the future grows. A falconer's eyes must be sharp to track a bird in the distant sky, but time takes your sight. The horizon becomes blurry. The bird becomes a speck you cannot follow. When you can no longer see the bird, you are finished. A blind falconer is a burden. The Lord will not keep you. You will be turned out, replaced by the apprentice you trained. You will leave the muse, the only home you have known for 40 years. You will leave the smell of the feathers and the sound of the bells. You will become a beggar in the village, telling stories of the great hunts to children who do not believe you. You will look up at the sky, squinting, trying to catch a glimpse of a silhouette soaring above the trees. You will reach out your hand, your scarred, crooked fingers curling around a ghost perch, remembering the weight, the grip, the heartbeat of the hawk. But that is the future. For now you are still here. You are still useful. The night deepens. The cold seeps through the stone walls. You check the charcoal brazier, stirring the embers to give the birds a little warmth, denying it to yourself. You pull your cloak tighter. You hear a rustle in the straw. A mouse? A rat? You don't move. The birds hear it too. A goshawk opens one eye, a burning ring of orange in the darkness. It watches the shadows. It is always ready. You lean your head back against the rough wooden post. You are so tired. Your body feels heavy, like it is made of lead and wet clay. But your mind is light, drifting, floating upwards. In your mind, you are flying. You are not the man in the mud. You are the bird. You feel the wind under your wings. You feel the thermals lifting you. You see the world from above. The castle, a toy of grey stone. The fields, a patchwork of brown and green. The forest, a dark ocean of trees. You are free. You are powerful. You are untethered. Then a bell tinkles. You snap awake. You are back in the muse. The cold bites your nose. The smell of ammonia fills your lungs. The bird has shifted its weight. It is just a bird. You are just a man. You stand up, groaning as your knees pop. You check the water bowls. You check the knots. You trim the wick of the candle. You exist in the service of a beauty you can never truly possess. You are the caretaker of the sky's assassins, and as the long, dark hours of the medieval night stretch out before you, you realize that this is the truest definition of your life. You are waiting, waiting for the dawn, waiting for the molt, waiting for the flight, waiting for the moment when you can finally, briefly, touch the sky. This is the burden of the falconer. It is a heavy, silent thing, carried on the shoulders, carried in the heart.
The season of the hawk does not end with the winter snows or the summer molts. It ends with you. For the medieval falconer, there is no retirement cottage waiting at the edge of the village. There is no pension of gold coins from a grateful king. There is only the slow, inevitable fading of the senses, the gradual dimming of the sharp eyesight that once tracked a speck of brown against a cloud of gray. You are old now. In medieval years, perhaps you are 50, perhaps 60. Your back, bent from decades of carrying the heavy cage, no longer straightens. Your knees, worn by the damp cold of the mews and the miles of walking through marshland, click and grind with every step. But the greatest betrayal is your eyes. The horizon, once a crisp line where the earth met the sky, is now a blur. The falcon, when she rises to her pitch, dissolves into the light. You can hear the bells, but you can no longer see the stoop. And in this profession, a blind man is a useless man. You see the way the Lord looks at you now, not with the impatient demand of years past, but with something worse, pity, followed by indifference. He looks past you to the apprentice, the boy you broke, the boy who is now a man with strong shoulders and sharp eyes. The Lord speaks to him now. He asks him about the goshawk's weight. He asks him about the weather. You are becoming a ghost in your own domain. This is the final indignity of the job. You have poured your life into these creatures. You have given them your warmth, your sleep, your blood, and your sanity. You have exalted them, raising them from wild beasts to the companions of kings. And in return, they remain exactly what they always were, indifferent. The old peregrine on the perch, the one you nursed through a terrible bout of frounce, a throat infection, 10 years ago, the one you stayed awake with for 5 nights during a storm, she does not know you are leaving. She does not care that your hands are shaking. She only knows that when the glove appears, there is food. If the glove is worn by another hand, she will step onto it without a moment's hesitation. There is a terrible, hollow beauty in that indifference. It is the honesty of nature. The bird does not lie. The bird does not pretend to love. But for you, the human who has spent a lifetime projecting a soul onto a creature of instinct, it is a quiet heartbreak that no one else understands. The day comes when you are told to leave the mews. It is not a dramatic eviction. It is a quiet conversation, perhaps with the castle steward. You are tired, he says. Rest. It is a command, not a suggestion. You are given a small space in the servants' quarters, or perhaps a corner in the stable loft if you have no family to take you in. You are given a blanket and a bowl. You are done.
You pack your few belongings, your knife worn thin from years of sharpening, your sewing kit for the hoods, a few molted feathers you kept for luck. You walk out of the mews for the last time. The smell hits you first, the absence of it. The sharp, biting scent of ammonia and raw meat is gone, replaced by the smell of hay and horses or the smoke of the kitchen. The sound is gone. The constant, rhythmic jingling of bells that has been the background noise of your entire existence is silenced. The silence rings in your ears louder than any noise. You sit in the sun, your old bones soaking up the warmth you were denied for so many years. You watch the castle life move around you. You see the hunting party assemble in the courtyard. You see the horses stamping, their breath steaming in the cold air. You see the nobles laughing, adjusting their furs. And you see him, the new Falconer. He walks with the stride you once had. He carries the cage with ease. He wears the glove that was once yours. On his fist sits the white gyrfalcon, the jewel of the collection. She looks majestic, her feathers smooth as snow, her eyes dark and piercing. You watch as he hoods her. You critique his technique in your mind. Too rough, you think. He pulled the braces too tight. But the bird accepts it. The bird does not mourn you. The party rides out, hooves clattering on the cobblestones, leaving you behind in the dust. You are no longer the keeper of the sky. You are just an old man sitting on a bench. This is why being a medieval falconer was the worst job in history. It wasn't the physical labor, though that was brutal. It wasn't the danger, though that was real. It wasn't even the low pay or the social isolation. It was the illusion of closeness. You spent your life serving a creature that represented ultimate freedom while you remained in ultimate servitude. You spent your life building a bond that existed entirely in your own mind. You gave everything to a master, both the bird and the Lord, who viewed you as a tool, easily replaced when the edge grew dull. History does not remember you. Look at the tapestries in the museums. Look at the illuminated manuscripts. You see the king, glorious in gold and crimson. You see the queen, elegant on her palfrey. You see the falcon, rendered in exquisite detail, every feather painted with care. But look closer. Look into the background, behind the horses, in the shadows of the trees. There is a smudge of brown paint, a figure with no face, holding a stick, carrying a bag. That is you. You are the background texture of history. You are the scenery.
And yet, as you sit there in the fading light of your final years, you close your eyes and you remember. You remember the weight, the solid, anchoring weight of a living thing on your arm. You remember the smell of the rain on the heather in the deep woods when you were miles from any other human soul, tracking a lost bird through the mist. You remember the silence of the snowy field just before the strike. You remember the feeling of the yarok, that electric tension that runs through the bird and into your own body, connecting you for one brief, shining second to the primal current of the world. You were not a king. You were not a knight. You owned nothing, but you held the lightning. You touched the clouds. You knew the secret language of the wind. The sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the castle walls. The stone turns from gray to gold to deep violet. The air grows chill. The other servants are heading to their beds, tired from their own labors. The cooks, the grooms, the sweepers. They have their own burdens, their own invisible histories. You wrap your cloak around your shoulders. It is old and thin, but it still smells faintly of the muse. That scent will never leave you. It is in your skin. You close your eyes, and the sounds of the castle fade away. The shouting of the guards, the clatter of pans, the barking of dogs, it all drifts into the distance. In the quiet of your mind, you are back there. You are standing in the center of the great field. The grass is wet with dew. The sky is a vast, pale dome of pearl and gray. There is no one else, no lords, no kings, no debts, no hunger. You raise your arm, you feel the grip of the talons. You feel the heartbeat against your wrist. You pull the braces, you slip the hood. The bird shakes her feathers, a sound like a deck of cards being shuffled. She looks at you, one last time, with that ancient, unblinking stare. And then she pushes off. She rises, she climbs the air, effortless, silent, beautiful. She goes higher and higher, spiraling up into the light, becoming a speck, becoming a memory, becoming part of the sky itself. You are not left behind. In your dream, you go with her. You are lifting out of the mud, out of the cold, out of the tired, aching body of the falconer. You are soaring. You are free. The darkness of the night wraps around the castle like a heavy velvet curtain. The fires burn down to embers. The world slows. The breathing of the sleepers deepens. The wind sighs through the arrow slits of the towers. And in the mews, the birds sleep too. They tuck their heads, they fluff their feathers against the cold. They dream of the hunt. They dream of the sky. And you, the keeper, the servant, the shadow, you sleep with them. Your watch is over. The bells are silent. The flight is done. Good night, Falconer. Rest now. The sky will be there when you wake. And so we leave the damp stone walls and the muddy fields of the Middle Ages. We leave the weight of the glove and the sharp cry of the hawk. We drift away from the history books, away from the hardship, and into the quiet, soft embrace of the present night. Let the image of the bird in flight carry you. Let the silence of the high air fill your mind. There is no more work to be done. There are no more knots to tie, no more fires to tend. Just the slow, steady rhythm of your own breathing. Just the heavy, comfortable warmth of your own bed. Drift, float, sleep.